everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Pool Pro Podcast. I'm so excited to be here. This is, I think, the fourth episode back since I restarted. And Rob Stewart is normally my co-host, but he is not available today. And so I brought on Liliana Escudero, who is in the LA area. I love her. And her J Designs is the company that she runs with her husband, JC. And I have been a friend of hers for a long time. And she can add some value to this conversation. So welcome, Liliana.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, for inviting me to be your co-host. I think this is going to be a super cool episode. So I'm dying to meet our guest.
Yes, it's going to be a spicy episode today. And I'm not saying we're talking about sex, but we will be talking a little bit about the word sex because it's going to be in a book title that's coming up. I'm very excited for this episode. I thought that Rob might be embarrassed to have this conversation with two ladies. So I thought it was almost more appropriate to have another female on here today. I could be wrong. Rob may be completely comfortable, but you never know. So I want to welcome our guest today. She is somebody I know here in the Dallas area. She is somebody that I hired for one of my clients for bookkeeping services. She's an accountant in the area, but I think this is a new exciting venture she has coming. The Spicy CEO, her new company where she does speaking engagements and she has a new book coming out. And I'm just really excited to talk about this today because these concepts that we're going to talk about, profit first, and then what she talks about from her book are going to be things that could be beneficial for everybody in this industry, including outside of this industry. If you run a business, you know how difficult it is to kind of maintain your books. A lot of us don't even understand our books, but even just maintaining your books and doing it in a way that follows the law and follows, best practices, it's hard to do. I don't know, Liliana, but you have issues with that at all, but I do. I know sometimes.
Oh, yeah. No, me too. Like I just got a notice this morning. I was so late on paying some certain taxes. So I'm like, oh my gosh.
You're like, uh-oh.
Yep.
And people are also very embarrassed to talk about it because they have shame associated with that. And there's no shame in our game here, you guys. We talk about real stuff. We all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. And we just, try to get some advice and move on. So excited for our guest today. Jen Perez, somebody, like I said, I know in the business, in the industry over here. She's not in the pool industry, but she has clients in the pool industry. So help me welcome Jen Perez from the Spicy CEO.
Hey,
thanks for coming. We appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for having me, guys.
I love her background. She looks like she's like in one of the nice areas here in Dallas. Love it. And she's also, Liliana, remember the days when we could send our kids away for a whole month in the summer?
Yes.
She's in that mode. This is like day, 3 or 4 for you, Jen?
Yeah, this last weekend. We shipped them off to Wisconsin to Grandma and Grandpa's and some other family that's helping out. So
I remember those days. Those were the good old days.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Jen, tell everybody a little bit about what your background is and what you do, just so they understand before we get into those spicy details about your book, what we're dealing with.
Sure. So to be honest, I started my business about 9 years ago, I think it's been now, as a bookkeeper, wearing all the 14 different hats. And the one thing I've learned is, your lane, what you're great at, but you don't know all the 14 hats necessarily, or the expert in that. So I've learned through a lot of mistakes along the years and also found more of what my passion is. And it's to help beyond just the bookkeeping, helping them understand the numbers in their business, because even if you're reading financial statements, first of all, do you know how to read them? And then second of all, can you use that information to make decisions in your business? So half the time, if I try to educate someone on it, I felt like it was in one ear out the other. And in 2019, I was introduced to Profit First, which is a cash flow method by Mike Michalowicz. He did endorse my book, by the way. Super excited about that. And it was a game changer, not just for my business only, when I thought I knew a lot of those things being a bookkeeper, but I kind of took that, ran with it. Honestly, I now have scaled the company where we still do bookkeeping, but I have a team that handles all of that, so I can focus on the consulting and the speaking, because that's where my heart and passion are, is helping people understand numbers so that they are financially healthy, meaning they're profitable, but also, and probably more importantly, they're paying themselves first versus every other thing to run the business. So that's in a very quick, I can go on like a whole hour about my story, but really quickly, that's kind of where my background is, what I started doing, and where I'm at today.
What do you think? And Liliana, jump in anytime. I don't want to talk over you. So if you have a question, feel free.
Okay, no, when you said just that, sorry, and now I'm jumping on you. So you see, like We're
Yes,
talking about it.
I see it.
It's there. I finished reading it. I still don't apply it. I have to say, I have bank accounts separate. Like I did
Good.
try to follow, like, so you will tell us a little bit more if there is an easier way to do it. But I do have the book and I read it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I will say, I hear that very often. That's a great book. That's a great concept. Great. Where are you at in your profit first journey? I read it, or I opened the bank accounts, but haven't really done anything with it. Most of the time, that's where people are when I talk to them. So, yeah.
Can you tell me before we start the whole profit first concept and why it's important? What is the number one thing you see with small businesses, the biggest mistake they make just from an accounting perspective? Is there like one thing that stands out that's very common amongst most of your clients?
They do it themselves, and they are not
Mm.
an expert. And so, unfortunately, when they do it themselves, you're spending time, even if you knew. I have a client who's in HVAC. He's a former CFO. He obviously knows how to do bookkeeping and accounting, but he's the owner of the company. He needs to grow and scale the company, not be doing the bookkeeping. So, for one, stay in your lane, focus on what you're passionate about, what you're the expert in. But also, so many times I have clients come through who did it themselves, and they might have done an okay job, but I'd say like 99 out of 100 times, we need to clean it up at least somewhat, sometimes way more than others. And you're going to pay for that. And so it's just a lot of times easier. Plus, you want to have accurate data while you're running your business. So if you don't have accurate books, to have that accurate information to know how you're doing, where you're going, it's nice when you have someone that's handling that for you. You can just view the information and you can go take care of your business.
Liliana, it's like telling the homeowners to not do pool service on their own, you know?
Yes, and unfortunately, I think I belong to that category. So, talking as a business owner that do have some accounting background, a finance background, to be more exact, I have a difficulty hiring someone to do my books just because the way I'm used to run the business. So I have tried. I have tried in the past, and every time I get my books back, it's like, ah. So what is that middle point that, or what would you say to a business owner that's doing this, running their books because they know their business, and this goes, if I may be a little bit granular, is like we run our estimates based on what we're spending on new construction. So I need to have that sense of every kind of bill that comes in. I might not need to enter it. I might need just to see the end of the day of the project, but I don't want to wait till the project is over when to see, oh, I messed up here, messed up here. Like that doesn't help me. So what would you tell business owners like myself that it's okay to give it away, or where is the middle point, or what would will look in when we're hiring a bookkeeper? Sorry, so many questions, but it just
So, and so many times people will come to us and say, "Hey, I just need to hurry up and get last year's books done for tax purposes." They can take it on themselves, and then they realize the benefits of it. And I literally had someone this morning, "Okay, can you tell me what it'd be like to catch up 2025 and then keep going?" It tends to happen because we actually offer where we're doing it weekly. We're not waiting till the end of the month, your statement comes out, and we get it to you by the 10th, 15th, sometimes 25th of the month, depending on some companies, for you to see what you did at the beginning of this month. And so if we're doing things every single week, you have more up-to-date data to be able to pivot or make decisions on that. I also think with Profit First, it kind of helps you understand that as well. So when we get into that and you can just check your bank account to see where things are at, it helps you a lot as well.
okay.
When looking for a bookkeeper, make sure, of course, they know your industry. If you are speaking jargon to them that they're like, huh, what? Probably not a good fit, and that's okay. You want someone that understands what you do, but a lot of times it's a gut feeling too. Like if you're not comfortable with them, if you're not willing to open up to them, you need to let them know things, because we make sure that we have all of the correct data, and we're going to reconcile everything. So just interview them. Don't just get the first person and say, "Yep, you're my bookkeeper." interview, because sometimes you might interview others and then realize the one was, holy cow, they are totally worth it. Or, wow, I didn't realize there were other people too. So it doesn't hurt to interview a few and pick out the one that you felt most comfortable. Or if you didn't, keep looking. So,
Okay.
Yeah. It's really just I mean, it's hard. It's Liliana, it's so hard. I know, I completely get it. For those of us who are just trying to manage our expenses and keep our expenses down, we make our priorities where we think we should. And a lot of that, especially in our industry, in the pools, it's, hiring and all the equipment and the supplies and stuff you have to buy. You feel like I can't afford also a bookkeeper. So I can, like I know people think that. And so maybe the profit first concept will allow us to be able to do that. We'll see.
yeah. But you also want to look at how much time are you spending doing your own bookkeeping?
Yeah.
So let's just say you're spending 4 hours a month. Okay. It could be more, could be less. And you find someone that's going to charge you, actually, for even numbers, let's say 5 hours a month, and they're going to charge you $500 a month. Okay. That equals $100 an hour. Now, when you look at your own numbers, what could you do with those 5 hours? And is it worth more than $100 an hour?
Yeah,
You make more money during those 5 hours.
That's
Yeah.
also, I think, a concept that could be really good for us business owners and more in the pool industry. I know it's a little bit more difficult, let's say. I don't know. I don't know any other construction industry. So, but I would say, like, we try to do everything thinking we're saving instead of really valuing our time. So it's there is another person out there that says, like, start delegating the low hanging fruit, like all that stuff that's killing your time. Start delegating that part, pay for that, because then you're paying for time,
Yep.
mainly your own time to keep on growing the business. So
I always teach people leverage your time, your money, and people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. I know it's rough. So Jen, talk to us a little bit about Profit First, and then we'll put a link in the notes of this, you guys, if you want to go buy the book, or I'm sure it's on Audible too. If you want to listen or go buy the book, we'll provide a link so you guys can do that. But talk about Profit First.
So when I first was introduced to it, it was because I was growing in business and I had the question of, well, how much should I pay myself? I've always heard pay yourself first. And being very transparent here, back in 2013, I personally filed bankruptcy. So back then, I wanted to learn everything about money because I never wanted that to happen again. Well, when I was in business, I was like, okay, wait a second. I want to make sure I don't head in the wrong direction in business either, because you can file bankruptcy in business. So when I started making some money, I wanted to be strategic with it, making sure I understood what was going on. And when I asked everybody, how do you figure that out? Everybody said, read Profit First. I was like, I've got a mile long of books I'm supposed to read. And honestly, I think I rented it from the library even, and was on a road trip. I read it in 2 days, which never happens because I'm a slow reader. It takes a bit for me to continue reading a book, like
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I implemented it right away. And within 3 months, not only did I have that answer of how much to pay myself, but I was driving profit intentionally. I was saving for taxes because, well, Uncle Sam wants to get paid too when you are financially healthy. And I actually had a deeper awareness of my expenses, which I thought I already did with my background. So it's just helping you be more intentional and aware of your spending habits, of where your money is going, so you can make better decisions. And it's by utilizing what we call use multiple bank accounts. Because let me ask you this right now, when you need to make a decision, where do you go to look at your numbers? You go to your phone and go online and check your bank accounts. We call that bank balance accounting, or what I like to call financial whack-a-mole. So when you do that, instead of trying to change the behavior like I used to do, try to teach people how to read those financial statements, you're just checking the bank account, but a bank account specific to payroll, a bank account specific to marketing, to your operating expenses, to paying yourself, right? And there's a lot more that goes behind the types of bank accounts and other levels, but it's really just being aware, so that with Profit First, we all know sales minus expenses equals profit. And that's the problem a lot of people do, is they take care of their team, they take care of their expenses, and what's left over is what they have to pay themselves. And that's how they get into trouble with that. So we teach Profit First. You take your sales minus a predetermined percentage of profit, and then what's left over is what you have to run the business. Now, profit technically includes profit, taxes, and owner's pay. Those are all three areas that help benefit you as the owner, or owners if you have multiple owners. And so when you are strategic with how you're managing that, and I go check a bank account, when I look at that operating expense account, all the rest of that to cover my funds and the profitability and make sure taxes are covered, that's what I have to run the business. So I can still not have to change that human behavior checking the bank account, but I'm not thinking I have this much more money to spend because it's allocated for something else.
It's
I know. It's a tough concept to get. And the thing that's interesting, what if you're have the mindset though, Jen, that I don't even, you're barely making it. Like if you're barely making it expense wise, um, these small businesses a lot of time they're just going, money in, money out. That's the way it's
Yep.
working. So how do you is something that you can do to try to switch that over? Obviously, you're either going to have to increase your revenue or decrease your expenses. And there's no other way to do that. Do you have a recommendation there, or how does that work?
So first of all, what you're talking about, like money's coming in and money's going out, there's a concept called Parkinson's law. And I like to use, I don't have it with me, but I like to use the analogy of a toothpaste. Because when you, at the beginning of a tube of toothpaste, right, you lather it on, you brush your teeth, you're good to go. But what happens when you get to the end of the tube? You have a little bit left. And so many people that, right, you're doing this, you're like a little turtle head trying to peeking out, trying to get it on the toothbrush, and you get just enough on there and you still successfully brush your teeth. So that's kind of like, that's Parkinson's law. The more time, the more money, the more toothpaste you have, the more time and money you're going to use. So when we set up the bank accounts like this, that's how, when we look at the operating expense account, for example, we have that much to use. Now, something very easy and simple that people can do, especially if they're spending more than what they're making or they're barely keeping their head above water, is to just start with one bank account extra. Like, actually, backtrack. Step 0, your personal and your business should be completely separate banking. It can be the same bank, just different bank accounts. Okay.
Yeah.
But on your business bank, open up a second bank account, nickname it Profit. And from now moving forward till the end of the quarter, start, or until you're like, oh, I got this, start allocating 1% of every deposit into that account and do not touch it. So you start building on that habit of using percentages, of driving profit intentionally. And it's 1%. You make $1,000, it's $10. Are you going to miss that $10? Now, I have had clients that are like, yes, I would. And I get it. Now, and seriously, I get it. If you really are in that much of a situation, do 0.5%. Okay. I had a client, they were in the trades, and they had probably like 1.2 million in revenue and top line revenue. And they had such a hard time with that. I said, let's just start with 0.5%. Because a lot of times people are like, oh, you make 1.2 million. Well, guess what? You could also make $100,000 and have the same profit if you're not, strategically managing the money right. So I had him start with just 0.5% to get into that habit so that we can start somewhere. Because then you start seeing, okay, I've got that money to decide. Now, here's the awesome thing of what that account is for. At the end of every quarter, you're going to take half of it, keep that. And I usually open up another account. I'll call it the vault or my oh shit account, because it's like an emergency fund. So start building that up if you don't already have one. The other 50% goes to you, the owner, as a profit distribution. But the thing is, it's to celebrate and reward yourself. So at least 4 times a year, you're giving yourself a bonus, and you have to go have fun with it. Now, it might be as small in the beginning as getting an ice cream cone like it was for me, and then grow into where now it's going towards saving for vacations and things that I love to do with my family. So just to kind of depend, but you grow in very baby steps to get there. So especially if you've read the book and you're like, all right, I should be at 10% profit, does not mean you start doing 10% profit. That's actually a mistake I made, because then where's that 10% coming from? Are you going to start paying yourself less? Are you going to take it out of your payroll? Where is it coming from? Start with 1% and gradually get there, because you have to look at what have you been doing. And that's one of the things we do on the consulting side, is we assess where have you been the last 12 months? What are those numbers? What do you need to support your personal lifestyle? And we plug all those numbers in to figure that out, because you don't want to make a drastic change. You just want to know, okay, this is where I'm at. I'm going to start small and work my way towards whatever those goals are.
Okay. It makes so much more sense seeing it like that. Like, I've read the book. As I said, I started with the bank accounts and all that. But I think my mistake was, instead of starting with the profit account, I name it tax. So just there, I was like, yeah, I think I sent some money and it stopped.
Yeah. Now, you did
put a negative connotation on it, Liliana.
You mentioned tax. I do want to clarify, the tax account is income tax. So that's federal, state, if you have it. I know some states have county tax. That's what that's for, your income tax. It is not payroll tax. It's not sales tax. It's not property tax. None of those are your money, but it's not, that's what I'm talking about, taxes.
Yes.
Technically, let's say you have sales tax. We want you to open up another bank account. We have a saying, when in doubt, open an account. So you can, I mean, honestly, because of what I was doing, I didn't have to have sales tax. And now with having a book out and selling the book, I have to have sales tax. So I went and opened up a bank account. I nicknamed it sales tax. So now I'm putting the sales tax that I need into that bank account. Again, set it aside because it's not mine. So when I have to make that sales tax payment, it's already there. And you do that also with materials and subcontractors. So it's called a mats and subs account. So that's something, and those two, the sales tax, the mats and subs, you actually take care of those first, because if you didn't have your subcontractor or the materials, for example, to build a pool, well, then the job would have never gotten done. You couldn't have earned that income to do that. So if it associates specifically with that project, now if you have a salaried employee, that's an operating expense. But if you have a subcontractor for that particular pool, for example, that's a subcontractor. And so the materials, that gets paid first before going into the other accounts, and honestly before paying yourself too, but because you wouldn't have earned the money otherwise if that didn't happen.
Okay, so now I'm confused.
Yep.
So how many accounts do you have, Jen? We're talking 10, 12 accounts here?
So there's 5 foundational bank accounts. I currently have, now I also have multiple businesses, but for this one, I have 5, 6, 7, I think 8. I'm a little different in that I have multiple bank accounts that flow to a holding company. So it's a little different. It's a little more advanced in that. But with Profit First, I was trying to see if I can pull up an example to kind of show you the flow of it.
Liliana, did you have a question while she's looking for that? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. I'm just like, I'm lost. It's too many accounts.
Well, if we just start with step 1, which is get your profit account, and you already have
I'm
that.
I'm gonna change the name on the account I have from tax to profit. and let's see if we can start there, sending the 1% there.
Let's just get started with that part of it, and then we can.
Just to clarify really fast, Jen, when you said when you have subs and materials, and I understand that if we don't have profit, if we don't build a pool,
Right.
So if we start with the profit account, we should start also with the subs and materials account, and then go first to the subs and materials or to the profit. That's where I got lost.
Got it. To be honest, I would just start with profit. Don't factor those other things. Some people like myself, though, are like, oh, I can do that. That's no problem. What's the next step? Right. Then we want to have those foundational accounts and start, like, you probably have them all set up. But if you're like, I haven't done anything with them, I don't know where to start, I just want to start small, that's where you do the 1% to profit, and that's it.
Okay.
When you're ready for that next step, that's all the foundational accounts. That includes the mats and subs account.
Okay.
Let me see if I can share this here.
We're sharing all Jen's information at the end, right? On the links on the podcast.
Yeah, in the notes below, we're going to have all of Jen's info, and we're going to have a link to the book. You can pre-purchase the book. She's going to talk about that next. We're going to have everything in the notes. Just look there and you'll be able to find it.
Okay, because I'm gonna be calling you very soon.
And I don't know why I cannot pull this up. Let's see
Does
if
this
this
allow
works.
you to present at the bottom, Jen?
Yeah, but it's only pulling up
What's on your main screen?
everything. So let me try this. And then you just tell me if you can see it or not.
I was gonna say just minimize and then put a window. Oh yeah.
Do you see
I
it?
can see it. Can you make it bigger? There you go.
Okay. Now I'm gonna be honest, this is for restaurants. So, but it's very similar in the setup. It was just the first one I could find. This is kind of what that looks like. So all of you have five, if you kind of imagine having five foundational bank accounts, that's your income account. That's all of your income. If you have commissions from affiliates, if you get referral fees, if you get sales, whatever income you're receiving for the business goes into your income account. And then you're going to allocate a percentage. So I'm going to skip over this part, the sales tax, payroll, COGS for a sec. The other four foundational bank accounts is your profit, which I've explained what the use of that is for. Your owner's comp, which obviously is to pay you as the owner. And it doesn't matter if you're 1099 or a W-2, it's to cover whatever that is. So if you're even a W-2 in your own payroll, it's to cover however much that costs on your payroll. And then income tax, again, that's for paying your taxes, quarterly tax payments at the end of the year, depending on how your business is structured. And then, of course, and this is in a certain order for a reason, what's left over is your operating expense. Okay. Does that part make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So going back up here, we have the sales tax, payroll, and COGS. Those three bank accounts, when you go to the next level, you actually, depending on how things are structured, this becomes more of a one-on-one conversation. But and sales tax right now, everybody has different sales tax is different everywhere in different states. So you can do percentage or you can do dollar amount, just depends. If you have, like, if we're doing the books weekly, then it's easy. We actually have an electrician who will pull a report to see how much in sales tax, and they just transfer that amount every time they do these allocations. But then that's set aside into that sales tax account and just sits there until you have to pay sales tax. Same thing with payroll, how much you need or a percentage. And that's when we looked at the numbers. What percent of your income was on payroll? Now in this, that would be your subcontractors. To clarify,
Yes.
restaurant industry is a bit different. So in this, instead of payroll, it actually would be subcontractors. And that's kind of the same with COGS, like that's your materials. So imagine payroll and COGS would say materials and subcontractors. You could even have those in the same bank account if you want. That's usually where I would have a debit card associated with when you're purchasing the materials, or if you have a credit card that you're using, you pay out of that account. That's what those are for. After those are all factored, so let's say you have $10,000 in the income, you made sure sales tax was covered, you made sure those subcontractors and materials were covered, and what's left over is $3,000. That is what is called your real revenue. Okay. Then you take a percent of the real revenue into profit, owner's comp, etc.
Okay.
So you are paying that other stuff first then.
In this case, yes, because of the industry. Every industry is different. And so that's why, like with this, you see restaurants, right?
Yeah.
But it's something where you want to make sure that the money that's not your money is set aside. You want to make sure, because I've had too many people come to me, they might even be charging sales tax, but they think of it as their own money or a bill I'll pay later, and then they already spent it, but they didn't save it, just like taxes. You're going to have to pay taxes if you have a profit. So why not be better off for it? I even tell people this, like when it comes to taxes, if you start saving and you get a bill and it's a $20,000 tax bill and you had $19,000 saved up, well, now you only have to figure out how to come up with 1,000 instead of 20,000.
Right.
Well, better yet, you've had 21,000 saved up. You got $1,000 extra. I would recommend putting that into the profit account. But honestly, there's so many different things you can do with that. And it's one less bill you have to worry about. It's done, taken care of, out of sight, out of mind. So it's the same thing with your sales tax, with your materials and subcontractors. You know those are taken care of. Understanding what those amounts are, what those percentages are really a one-on-one conversation, because it depends a lot on your state, how your service, you're packaging your services, all those different things. There's a lot of variables that go into that too.
And how deep into depth are you?
I go very deep. So the nice thing about my background being in accounting is that I understand the numbers, but I talk to my clients in terms they understand.
Okay,
Because
perfect.
they don't have the accounting background. So I don't use the jargon. Even like my HVAC guy who's a CFO, I don't use the jargon with him because it's not fun. It's not sexy. I mean, come on. So why would I do that? I like to have fun, but I also will tell someone if I don't know the answer. And 9 out of 10 times, I probably do know someone that does, so I can get back to them or have a connection for them. But I'm very vulnerable and transparent in my own story and my mistakes, so that hopefully that's a lesson for you not to make, things like that. And so the other really nice thing is there's right now about 500 something profit first professionals in the entire world. They do have like an interview process, a certification you renew every year. And so if for some reason there's something specific to profit first, I have not just Mike McAllowitz, but I have the entire profit first community to reach out to if I needed something. For example, there was a time where manufacturing is not my specialty. And so I was volunteering for a group of students that they had to make a widget or start a business of some sort. And they got to choose what it was. And I just helped them in building this business. Well, of course, they wanted to make a widget. I'm like, manufacturing, that's like the one area that is not my expertise. So I found a profit first professional who is an expert in that. And he helped give me a couple tools that really helped. Well, these students ended up winning a $10,000 grant to start their business.
Wow.
So it was funny when I asked them, like, well, how much do you guys want to pay yourself? And they're like, I don't, they're 17. How do they know how much? They're like, as much as I can get Chick-fil-A every week. Okay, so $500 a month. I don't know. But most people, I'm sure, don't think about those things when they're building the business. And honestly, their first year's revenue was like $3,000. And a part of me was like, do I tell them we need to like add a couple, like another 0 or 2 in there? But they still won. And I was just really proud of them. So that's just an example of the community that I have and the network I have to get answers if I don't already know them.
Yeah. Love that. And do you have, and so let's Liliana, can we switch over to the book, or do you have any additional questions on what she just talked about?
I think maybe just 2 additional questions that could help all our builders, service people here is because we all deal with bank accounts. And for example, when we're talking about opening 7 bank accounts, do you have a recommendation, or how do I go and tell one of these big banks, hey, don't charge me any service fee because I might not have the minimum, but I need 7 different accounts? Like, how do we navigate that part? Because that could become just a stop for someone. Is like, okay, no, you know what? I'm not going to deal with service charges because I won't do that. So that would be, I think, my last question regarding profit first.
Okay. So we actually have a list of profit first friendly banks. Okay. And depending where you're at in the country is where I would guide you. But if you are in the US, I highly recommend Relay. They're the official banking partner that you can have up to 20 bank accounts for free, no minimums, no monthly fees. I pay my vendors through their ACH, no fees for me. They get it in 1 to 3 business days. So sometimes you can pay your subcontractors that way. There is a level, like a pro level, if you want to do, they have bill pay and all these different things in there too. But you can have savings, you can have checking, you can do virtual cards, you can give, if you've got subcontractors that are always getting the materials, you can give them a card. And so there's just so much more you can do with it. What we consider profit first friendly is that they are not charging a fee. There's no minimum, or it's like so small that, yeah, we can handle that. I had a bank once and their minimum was like $3,500. I'm like, you know how much I could do with $3,500? Like, I'd rather take that from, I don't want to make you money. I want to make me money. Yeah. So, and then obviously, if you do have a bank though, that you love, some banks, especially credit unions, will allow to have multiple bank accounts. Okay. But, and it might just be there's a minimum throughout all of the accounts, or there's different things. And sometimes I get it. You have a relationship and you love them. Talk to them. Just say, hey, this is what I'm doing. And to be honest, If they have no clue about Profit First and you're like, I don't really know how to explain that, connect them with me and I will. So even if you're not my client, I love it when I can find other banks to send people to that I know can help them, because it's a good thing. Now, if you're someone, Relay is an online bank. So if you deal with cash, well, and they do have, then they recommend having a local bank that you just deposit the cash into, because then you can actually pull that money from Relay and still manage everything. It just takes another day, really, or two to get into your bank account. So that's what I recommend. And actually, if you go to thejenperez.com/relay, then you actually get the same banker that I deal with, because that's who I bank with. And so if you've ever have issues or whatnot, it's a lot easier to have that relationship and someone who understands Profit First as well, because they have a Profit First professional liaison, if you will, at the bank that I have that connection with. So it's also kind of nice to have someone that knows what Profit First is. And I have had a client, he had 19 bank accounts. And when I referred him to a local bank who is a Profit First friendly bank, they hesitated because, well, honestly, a lot of times when there's laundering, it's because you have multiple accounts. So I had to go in and explain to them about Profit First, which now they're a great referral for my clients locally. So, but I had to explain to them what he's doing. And then they're like, oh my gosh, that is so awesome. That makes so much more sense. And yeah, so it just depends on where you're at too. Or if you're like, no, I don't like doing the online thing, just let me know where you're at in the world, and then I can look more into that too.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Yeah, we can move on.
We'll put the link for the Relay. We'll put the Relay link for Jen too in the notes. If you guys would look in the notes of this video, you'll be able to see that there. We'll link right to it. That's awesome. So I would like to make a transition because this is exciting. So Jen, and I know Jen from a mastermind group that we both belong to here in the Dallas area. And so I've been a part of her journey with this book. And I'm just so excited that she's at this stage now. She's launching the book at the end of June here locally in Dallas. I'm going to the event. I've pre-purchased the book, and I'm going to be there to support her because I think this isn't your first book, is it, Jen?
Yeah.
Oh, it is your first. I didn't know that. So now I'm even more excited that I decided to come, because it's so important for those of you who have not written a book. It's not as hard as you think. I think that people think that writing a book is such a big deal anymore. And I feel like it is a big deal because Jen wrote the book. She didn't have ChatGPT write the book for her. She wrote the book. But this book is exciting for me because the title is awesome. Jen is hilarious when she talks about it. And it's a topic that I just love. So Jen, tell us what your book title is so that we can get the concept, and then we'd love to hear some content from that, or we can expect.
Yeah. So I have been told I have to be creatively different. In fact, at that mastermind, when Scott McCain was speaking, he told us the Taxi Terry story. And and then we learned about writing a book and stuff. I'm like, okay, so that was like the last thing that was like, yes, we got to do this. But how many business books or finance books have you read? Like, to be honest, I feel every time I've tried to put pen to paper or writing something, I just felt like it was another one of those. And yes, it can still be a marketing tool because I did write it, but how can I be different? How can I be creatively different? And I'm not going to go through the whole story because that's in the book too, but I went to college for accounting, couldn't get into the business school, so I got a degree in sociology with a minor in human sexuality. I wanted to become a sexologist, which is the study of sex. Okay. And so I've always had that passion, that interest, never went further than that. But in the back of my mind, it's just always been a passion of mine. And so I've always tried to figure out, how do I marry those two topics, right? Money and sex, without it being weird, without attracting the wrong person. Right. And so at this event, I'm like, oh, I'm just going to do a quick quote book, right? Like 100 ways money is like sex. And then I was like, wait, why 100? So it's called 69 Ways Money is Like Sex. And then I had to create a subtitle, or Amazon would think it's an erotic book. So spicy insights for streamlining your business finances.
Love it.
Yes.
Yes. It's so exciting.
So the one thing I was just thinking right now, when you're talking about how to marry those two things, you marry two things people don't like talking about in a book. Like literally. Like people don't like talking about money. People don't like talking about sex, like publicly. Yes. It's kind of like a taboo thing.
So,
wow.
Do you have your book title? You have your picture of your book that you could share?
Yes. Let me.
If you can pull it up. Just I should have asked for that. That's my own fault. I didn't do that. But I love this because sex sells number one. So just from a marketing perspective, it's genius. But and
Yeah.
this is you got to hear this joke, Liliana. She said the one joke was, what was the joke that you told me during that mastermind, Jen? It was something like you were going to add 8 more because
Oh,
getting 8 more is better, or something like that.
So you kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but I didn't do that. It just as we know, some of like the number of pages and stuff. But for those that pre-order are getting a digital bonus, which does include 8 unpublished ways, because getting 8 more is better. Yeah.
Okay, can I get the link, please, so I can order? Well,
Yes. So you can go to 69waysmoneyisLikeSex.com or thejenperez.com/69ways.
I was
Yes,
trying.
and the link is in the notes, guys. If you want the link to the book, it's there. You can pre-order it.
If you
Here we
could see
go.
my search story, it's there. I looked at it yesterday.
Oh, yay! Good. So there, love it. Love it. Isn't that awesome?
I'm still working on, like, I'm tweaking a little thing on the back. Otherwise, it's done. Like the content, it's all done. It's all formatted, ready to go off to Amazon for distribution and all that good stuff. I am a bit of a perfectionist, and so the content, even last night, I think I changed something on there so minor, like you wouldn't even care, to be honest. But for me, with my first one, I get men, right? Some people are like, oh, women, but I've gotten men who are like, I don't read books and I want to buy your book, just because it's a marketing thing. And literally on the back of the book, let's see if I can find, I don't have it handy, but on the back of the book at the top, it says something like you were saying, Liliana, about money is like sex. Both are taboo topics that nobody talks about. Nobody teaches you how to use them. And honestly, we should be talking about this. Now, I'm not saying you go tell us how much money you're making and how many orgasms you had, but you need to have communication with your partners. You need to be able to understand things, right? So it's just a spicy twist to it is business finance, and each page has a way, adding some fun and humor to it. But then I go into the business side, and hopefully educating. Sometimes it's sharing my story of mistakes I've made, so that hopefully people don't. So it's just a lot of added fun with it. It's a short read. It's only 96 pages, but it's just something I wanted to put together for fun. And
yeah, and it's totally, you see how much more maybe happier and wealthier will we be if we were able to talk about those two topics pretty open. I don't know, like I run a business with my husband, and I'm not going to talk about the sex part, but about the money part. It gets kind of like a friction topic sometimes, because we're trying to run a business, we're trying to keep on moving, all these things, and we're most of the time in the business, not on the business. So when the money topic comes up, it's like, ooh, are we good? Are we bad? So it's not an open conversation.
Yeah. And it's something where you want to make sure that you're, sometimes it's good to have a partner. Sometimes it's good not to have a partner because it can get messy. There's a few, honestly, chapters that talk about a partner. And so it's something, though, that you just have to be very clear on, especially when you have somebody in business, and especially when it's a significant other, because how do you have those boundaries so that you're not always talking about business at the dinner? Like you have some just alone time, family time, right? It's not, and I get it. I'm a business owner. My husband is W-2. And sometimes he has to be like, Jen, stop. Like it's family time, kids, we're at the table. And it's taken me some time, people calling me out on it, for me to be like, ooh, oops. I get it. We're excited. We enjoy what we do, or we've got things going, fires we're trying to put out. But when you are in business with your significant other, I've seen it too many times that it causes friction in the relationship. Sometimes if I have those couples, I feel like I'm in marriage counseling at times. To be honest, but you just have to know what those boundaries are and talk about it and be very clear about those things. Because if you just assume, right, you're not on that same page. So it's the same thing with sex. You can't just
I was
assume.
just gonna say
You
that.
can't just
Exactly
assume.
the same thing. Don't assume what they want or
Right.
like. Yeah. Have a
Right.
conversation.
Yep.
I love this. I love this topic. I'm excited. And I'll again, if you guys click in there's a link in the notes here where you can purchase the book from her, and I am excited for that. And I'll take some photos and you'll have some videos and photos from her launch party at the end of June here in Dallas. You're more than welcome to come. If anybody's in the Dallas area and listening, or in any, not just Dallas, Austin, or wherever you want to come, you can sign up for that. That'd be fun to see you guys. But yeah, exciting. So
Yes.
excited for you, Jen. Really big time. And this is going to be beneficial for all of us, anybody who listens or reads it or whatever. So
Yeah. Now, do you guys want a small sample?
yes.
Now that I have it. So like nobody else except my editor has seen this content yet. So I'll just read one that's really short since we're talking
Yes.
about partner. And it is way number 58. Sometimes it's better with a partner. Sure, you can do it alone, but is it really as satisfying? Managing business finances solo might feel empowering at first, but over time it can become overwhelming. A partner can be anyone who adds insight or accountability, a trusted coach, a mentor, or even a savvy accountability buddy. Having someone by your side brings fresh perspective and expertise. They'll catch what you miss, celebrate your wins, and call you out when you stray from the plan. Just like a romantic partner, the right financial partner should be someone you trust implicitly and who makes the journey feel less like a chore and more like a shared adventure. So that's one of my shorter chapters because some of
I
them
love that.
most of them have a few. And so it's mindset, it's actual strategy. There's a lot of different things in there, focusing on not just on money, but what about payroll? What about people? What about understanding different jargon, even in accounting jargon? So it's business finance with a spicy twist is how I like to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love, love, love.
So
And as far as
excited.
speaking, the spicy CEO, it's not just the book, but you're more than welcome, or I should say you're more than willing to go do any kind of events, speaking events or webinars or things like that. So if there's anybody out there, again, all the links for Jen are in the notes of this video. So you'll feel free to connect with her directly, and all those things. And so Jen and I have worked together here, and we have a client together that we share and in the industry, and it's exciting. So, and they're not even in Dallas; they're in South Carolina. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I was so fortunate to be able to meet them in person a few months ago too. So
Yeah, I put them out here for an event that we had out here. And I wish you guys were, Liliana, I wish you were coming to that women's event. It looks like a lot of the women are coming, but I completely understand. There's a women's event in the industry, Jen, coming up in August in the area. And in fact, I tried to get you in there, just so you know, Jen. When they were looking at booking female speakers, I sent an email to the organizers of that event, and I said, hey, because I know them, and I said, hey, if you're looking for some local speakers here, I have a great speaker, and they never responded. So I'm like, boo, but that's okay. We forgive you. We forgive you, Pool Nation crew.
You're calling them out.
They might see when my book comes out and be like, oh, maybe next year.
I'll just bring a copy of it and just put it on the desk in front of you.
There you go. There you go.
I'll be like, what is that? So yeah. So thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And Liliana, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. But Jen, thanks so much. It was so nice to see you. And look, again, all of her links are in the notes section. Contact her directly. You can always contact me. So Jen, thanks so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you guys. I had a lot of fun today. So that's one nice thing about this topic is it gets to spice the conversation up, even if we didn't mean to. So I appreciate
it. I like it.
The time. Yep.
All right. Thanks for Jen. I'll see you soon, Jen. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Liliana, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And I would love to have you in the future on a topic that you would like to discuss or anything. I know that I like having some different guests on the show to come back to that. And I hope you learned something today as well. I know I did. So
I did learn a lot. I'm going to go back to my Profit First. I do have a Relay account already. So just going to start moving there.
Yay. Okay. Well, thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode of the Pool Pro Podcast. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
A new voice in the industry, a resource for all, education for you. This is Pool Pro Podcast. Build relationships and share important news as we get ready for our next backyard adventure. Pool Pro Podcast. Backyard adventures are better together. Please take a moment to share, like, and review our content with all of those that would be interested.